What is up, everyone? It's Fernando for your Sports Time HQ. We're back in the weekly podcast. I'm joined here with my great co-host, Keith. Keith, how are you doing? It's been a rough week for both of us.
Yeah, I'm good, but yeah, rough week when it comes to my Seahawks. You maybe for a little bit different reasons, but but yeah, my Seahawks got done in overtime. So yeah, what you gonna do is it was a great game, high scoring game, but yeah, defenses didn't hold up.
Yeah, I don't know who it was, but they had a good chance of tackling Josh Jacobs and then just couldn't get him, and then he broke free to end that overtime.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, what did he get, like an 82-yard or something, 86-yard touchdown? I mean, we weren't good in the game on D, anyways. You know what I mean? It wasn't great. I didn't think Gino made a few mistakes, but it was okay. We were able to keep up with the Raiders. The Raiders were keeping up with us. It was a very good game for the neutral, but as a Seahawks fan, it was right on the edge of the seat, waiting to see if we were going to win it or not. But unfortunately, we just couldn't get the job done.
Yeah, and at the same time, it's kind of like mine with the Patriots. Was that catch Hunter Henry? Was that a catch?
I don't know. Initially, I said yes, and then it grazed the ground and had movement. I don't know. It's a serious gray area. I don't really like this whole control the catch thing. I don't know whether I think that ball did hit the ground, but the whole thing, if the ball doesn't hit the ground, but the ball moves in your hands and all that stuff, I think once the ball doesn't hit the ground, I think it's a catch. What did you think?
So I was on the same boat. I thought it was a catch at first, and I said it wasn't a catch, but then it makes me think, like, I don't know if you saw the video with Travis Kelce from weeks ago and months ago, whenever it was, but he caught it. They called it a touchdown, but it was completely different type of catch towards Hunter Henry. And it looked like Hunter Henry should have got that and be considered a touchdown.
Yeah, it's a tough one. It's definitely a tough one in a game that was it was tight as well. Came down to the wire. That would have made a big difference in that game. But yeah,
would have been a tie game.
Yeah, that's it exactly. Like, and we wouldn't know what way would have gone then. But it's an unlucky one for your Patriots.
Yeah, Minnesota unfortunately does win against my Patriots, and the Patriots, of course, down in last place in the division. Your Seahawks still up there, still in second, about a game behind from San Francisco.
Yeah, we're okay, but I think this tougher games. We played the Rams this week. Who knows? With all their injuries and all that, but they always have the voodoo over us. Every time we go play them, they always beat us. So hopefully we can get back on track. But there's a few more tough games coming. I still think the 49ers are a sneaky team on the NFC side. So.
Definitely on the NFC side, I agree with you on that. The bye weeks are two NFC teams this week. It's the Arizona Cardinals, Carolina Panthers. But you mentioned the Rams, and I'll just quickly touch on the Rams injury report here. Allen Robinson had a foot surgery, and he's officially out for the season, which means go get yourself some Van Jefferson shares.
Yeah, definitely Van Jefferson. Big uptick there for him. I get it. He's probably just a flex play at best. There's not a whole lot going on there. You thought Tyler Higbee would have a big week. Pretty sure he just put up a donut. So, yeah, it's kind of an offense that's all over the place at the moment, though. But Van Jefferson looks like he could be the one that might be the most consistent.
And of course, Van Jefferson had 7 targets for 3 receptions, had 11.9 points on the day. So definitely a great pickup if you haven't picked him up already. 14.7% owned only, so it's gonna be a good one to pick up, especially if you're in need of a wide receiver.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of shares of him out there going.
And of course, we know Jeff Saturday. He's been able to win on Saturday. We also know he can win on Sunday, but we know that he can't win on Monday. But I want to ask you, between the Bucs and the Colts, the clock management issue at the end of the games, like, did you think these teams should have called timeouts? Like, they had the timeouts.
They had to take the timeouts. The Bucs one especially was terrible. I don't know what Brady was doing. Like, he could have just called it. I don't know if he was waiting for the sideline. Same with Saturday, but he's not a head coach. That's the thing. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. He's all about, I can, coach a group of men and I can lead men on the field and all this. Yeah, but you can't manage the clock. So yeah, you're no use. But yeah, they did well to come back in that game. But the Steelers defense stepped up when they needed to be, and they got the win.
Yeah, and you'd think that someone upstairs would have said hey, go call the timeout. Like, you got to call that timeout.
That's it. I don't know why the clock was let go down so far. It's again, somebody who is not a proven head coach or not even got any real qualifications is in charge of the Colts. It kind of says it all. So
Yeah. Yeah, and of course, Indianapolis and Tampa Bay. I mean, Keith and I are here. We're ready to go if you need us.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we can step in. We can take control. If you just want to be the guys that like manage the clock for you guys, we can do that. If you're going to pay us
Yeah,
a whole lot of cash.
yeah. I mean, even if it's not a whole lot of cash, I mean, still on a team, I'm fine with that. I'll
you
get the
just
experience.
you want to be on the Bucks team so you can stand next to Tom Brady on the sideline.
Yeah, I wanna actually tell him I'm a better thrower than him.
And get yourself back to New England.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So yeah, Bucks Colts, they ended up losing both the games. Poor clock management, of course, from both sides. The Jets, they look really good with Mike White. Mike White really doing a lot. Had like over 300 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. Man's good.
Definitely gave them a chance to win, and they did. But he did that last year. Last time we seen him as well. Like he
Yeah.
was all action, all go. I think you got to take the rough with the smooth with him. He's going to have bad weeks where he'll throw more interceptions than he will touchdowns. But the first game was a nice game with that Bears defense. You know what I mean? It's soft. Let's be honest. So yeah, I mean it's a good one. I think they may have their guy for the rest of the season. Zach Wilson will keep warm on the bench. It's just what they do in the off season. Are they going to go again and get another quarterback, or is it maybe Mike White takes over? But they got a decision to make there with Zach Wilson.
7-4 right now. They go on to face the 9-2 Vikings. Do you think the Jets could pull out a win here with Mike White under center?
I think it'll be closer than what people think, but I think the Vikings should have enough to get it done. I mean, the Jets defense is going to keep them in the game, I think, for long periods.
Yeah.
It's just whether Mike White can do it again. I mean, if he puts up the same type of performance, they're going to win. Don't care what really, the Vikings do on offense and how many times they, hit Jefferson, they'll win with that type of performance. But I don't think we'll see, to that same level, and the Vikings will win.
Of course. So you think they're going to win? They're 7-4 right now. A loss there would put them at 7-5. They have a tough end of the year. Of course, they got the Bills the week after. Lions shouldn't be that tough, but again, they've been sneaky team this year. Jaguars, who just pulled a win against the Ravens. Then you got the Seahawks, who've been up and down here, and then you got the Dolphins. So, do you think these Jets can actually make playoffs?
It's going to be tough. It's definitely going to be tough. Yeah, I'm not too sure. I mean, I can see them definitely getting some good wins there, but I know they'll probably beat my Seahawks. I think Miami, you said last year, I think they'll have too much for them. Who else did you say?
Lions and Jaguars.
Lions will be a good game. I think Lions are going to have to keep up with them. I think they'll beat the Lions. The Lions will have to keep up scoring wise. Jags, I think they'd have enough to beat the Jags. I think they can shut down Lawrence. So yeah, they could definitely win more than they lose in the stretch, and then slot in for a wild card spot or make it in.
And if they don't make it to the playoffs this year, obviously, I mean, if I was playing as a Jets general manager, I don't think Mike White could be that guy moving forward. I think he's just kind of that guy for this year. Of course, we know Zach Wilson. He's not good at football. But do you think they go to draft a quarterback, or do they try to get a vet quarterback?
It's an interesting one because I think they'll be in a nice situation where they know their defense is good. I think they've got a lot of good pieces on offense where they could probably just focus in on, making that decision whether, do we put Zach Wilson back in there? Do we try to trade him? Do we go get a vet? I don't know. Take Russell Wilson's contract out of the Broncos and go somewhere else. I don't know. Do you go get Aaron Rodgers for a year or two and see if you can win with Rodgers? There's been like loads of kind of rumors about him not coming back and stuff like that. So I think it's going to be interesting. I would say maybe they go the vet route. Say like an Aaron Rodgers, because they've been to the well so many times in the draft, and it's clearly not paying off. I mean, they skipped over Justin Fields. If they didn't, I think it'd be a different team with Justin Fields in there. But maybe they got to try the vet route and see if they can win in the next couple of years, and then if not, it's back to the draft. But I do think they're in a nice position where they've a lot of good pieces that they could just kind of focus in on that quarterback position to see if that just ties it all together.
It's like Washington and Indianapolis getting those vet quarterbacks.
Yeah, exactly. But I still think the Jets have way better pieces than them two teams. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I completely agree with that. And I mean, since we're on the topic, you mentioned the Broncos maybe going to get Russell Wilson. They lost again. It's crazy. 3-8
team.
Yeah, to a bad team.
Yeah.
I actually thought that they could have had a chance to win that game. I said, oh, maybe they'll actually score over 20 points this week and they'll get a win over these Panthers. No. Ended up not even working out. They're 3-8. Of course, I mean, I'm agreeing with this. I'm sure you're agreeing with this. Their season's over, and they've lost 7 of the last 8 games. I Is this just a lost season for these Broncos? Do they bounce back next season?
I mean, I don't know if they bounce back. I think if it's the same coaching staff with Russell Wilson, they're not bouncing back. I think that's
Yeah,
something's got to be done here. You can't go into the same team or the same year or next year with the same kind of coaching staff, Russell Wilson, and try and win the same way. It's clearly not working. It's not been working all season. And maybe they're trying to change things up, but like watching it,
yeah, yeah.
it looks like there's something different. Okay, they'll get Javante back. Yeah, and they've been short-handed at wide receiver with Hamler and Judy out and stuff like that. But they were terrible with them guys in the first place. From the first game of the season where the Hawks bet them, nothing's really improved. I
No.
think everyone thought they'd get better as the season goes on. And if anything, they're getting worse as the season goes on. And obviously, it's not helping all these guys going down. They've got a lot of guys. I think they have the most ACL injuries on defense or something like that.
They do have a lot of injuries.
Yeah, which is just unlucky as well. But it's kind of the way it goes in the NFL. But I think Hackett's probably out of there. I think he'll go first. I don't know probably why he's still there, to be honest. But he'll go first. Then they're going to have to do something about Russ if it's still not working. But yeah, I mean, he's getting a ton of money, and he looks terrible out there. But I do think it's a mix of he's not being told to play the way he kind of wants to, his kind of scramble game and stuff. They just want him standing in the pocket and throwing. It's not his game. I think if they actually let him out and scramble and run around and, make the decisions that way, I think they'll be a lot better. But yeah, definitely a lost season and a lot of work in the offseason for Broncos.
And of course, I don't know if you saw this tweet from Dev Klayman. The Broncos dead cap if they were to cut Russell Wilson. In 2023, they would have $107 million in dead cap. 24 would be 85 million. 25 would be 49.6 billion, and then 26 would be 31.2 million dollars in dead cap.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen another one where they could cut a lot of guys, restructure a lot of contracts, Sutton's, Tim Patrick's, these type of guys, and you could actually cut Russ and save yourself 70 mil. But I think both of them are, it's kind of just wishful thinking if you're a Broncos fan.
Do you think, obviously, I don't think it would happen, but do you think Russell Wilson should go to the office and be like, hey, obviously I didn't play to the elite self. I want to kind of help you guys get more weapons and more assets to your team. Let's take a pay cut and let me do something and help you guys get more money for another position.
Should he? Of course. It doesn't matter about what he does for a living. He's getting paid way too much money. But no, that's not going to happen. Let's be realistic about it. I mean, if you look at like Tom Brady, like he's earning the most money now with the Bucs and stuff like that because he wanted to take team-friendly deals with the Patriots and all that to go and win championships, and that's fine. But you got to have that grit and that kind of determination about you. I think nowadays, with these, quarterbacks getting paid silly money and all this stuff, and the more guaranteed money, it's all about looking after yourself and looking after your future. So, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see what's going to happen next season for the Broncos and how Nathaniel Hackett still has a job, as well as Josh McDaniels. It's like every week Josh McDaniels should lose his job, and then all of a sudden he just wins to get some more ego on his team.
Yeah, well, I do kind of believe the stories I was reading that they just don't have the money to pay him off. I wouldn't be surprised because he should
for McDaniels.
Yeah.
Okay.
They apparently don't have the money to pay him off. That's the issue while he's still sitting there. So I mean, the more wins he gets, the better it goes for him. But yeah, they're not going anywhere fast, I don't think either.
Okay, it'll be interesting to see. Yeah, Josh McDaniels and those Raiders. I mean, they can give some good upsets like they did to your team, but
yeah,
I don't think they go to playoffs.
It probably was an upset, but it's more like if you look at the two teams, and especially if you're looking for start of the season, it's a rebuild on Seahawks versus a team primed to try and get into the playoffs. And we lost in overtime, so that shouldn't be happening. They should be, if they're real contenders, they should be beating the Seahawks by comfortably 10-12 points and moving on to the next game. I think we're kind of overachieving this year, which is good, I suppose, from a fan's point of view. But they're underachieving so much and paying all the money for Davante Adams is just kind of wasting his time there.
Yeah, I mean, I heard rumors that maybe Davante Adams might be on the trade block like in the offseason.
I mean, if they need cash and and they need cap and all that stuff, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. But it's, I don't think if he was still on the Packers, maybe they'd win a couple of more games, but I don't think they'd be winning the Super Bowl, or, they might be fighting for playoffs. I don't think they'd be a whole lot better. So it just depends who's going to pay him, the big bucks, and he'll want to go to a contender, whether, I don't know if a contender would have that money, maybe the Lions would be a good show or something like that. They have a good offense as it is, someone that's out there. I don't know what their salary situation is, but I wouldn't be surprised if Devontae Adams was on the block.
Maybe back to Green Bay.
Nah, he knows Aaron Rodgers, he's not going to be there.
Who knows? Maybe Aaron Rodgers goes to Las Vegas.
That'd be interesting. I mean, something's got to give if they're not going to get rid of Josh McDaniels. I mean, Derek Carr's proven to me, anyways, that he's not good enough. He's average. He can get you to playoffs, but he's not going to win you playoff games. He's not going to beat the big teams. When it gets down to stretch, the Kansas City, the likes of them. So if you're not going to get rid of the coach, if you don't think he's the issue, I think you get rid of Carr, and maybe you do what I just said that the Jets might do with Aaron Rodgers. You go get Aaron Rodgers for a couple of years. He's probably got, he's definitely got better weapons on offense. And see if Aaron Rodgers is the guy that's, can get the Raiders to go all the way.
Yeah, only 2 years is perfectly fine for Aaron Rodgers, and hopefully get the Jets to the playoffs maybe 1 year and maybe go to the Super Bowl the next, and then retire.
Between the Jets, the Raiders, I don't know. He might just get a pain in his ass and retire after this season. Who knows? Nobody knows what Rodgers does,
Especially since he had that injury this past couple nights.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how that plays out. I still think if he's okay, he goes out there. I don't think they put Jordan Love.
Yeah, I think so. But Love did play his first really good game, which was nice to see.
Yeah, he was pretty good. And they played the Bears this week, and Rodgers is going to make sure. I think he'll be back for that one.
Yeah, he loves facing the Bears.
He loves beating the Bears. But it's if Jordan Love happens, to need to step in. It's not a bad matchup for Love and any of the kind of the running backs. Watson, I think they'd all have a decent day for fantasy.
Yeah, no, 100%. I totally agree with you on that. Before we go on to injuries, though, two teams have possible clinching scenarios this week. It's the Philadelphia Eagles, who are 10-1, going to face on the Titans Sunday at 1 p.m. They clinch with a win and a Washington loss, a San Francisco loss or tie, a Seattle loss or tie, as long as both San Francisco and Seattle don't tie each other, or Philadelphia clinches with a win, Washington tie, or San Francisco loss and Seattle loss. So I don't see Philadelphia clinching. This week, anyways, but I'm sure they'll clinch in the coming weeks.
No, yeah, they will. I mean, it's a lot to ask for this week. I'd be surprised what happens, but they're going to clinch it next week, maybe, or the week after.
Yeah, and Minnesota also has another clinching scenario. They will clinch with a Minnesota win and a Detroit loss, or tie, or a Minnesota tie and a Detroit loss. That one definitely has a better chance to actually.
Yeah, it's got a shot.
Yeah, that one's got a shot, and Philly's got a couple more, another week at least.
Yeah, exactly. But I wouldn't be worried about it from Philly's point of view.
No, not at all. You don't have to be the first one to make the playoffs. You just have to be the last one to not be eliminated from the playoffs.
Exactly. That's it.
But now it's time to go to our quick little injury report here before we go on to our waiver wires. Travis Etienne, he had a foot injury. You got to monitor him this week. Make sure he's good to go, and hopefully he doesn't have any tweaks or tweak it during practice if he does decide to practice. Keith, I don't know if you have any more on him.
No, it looked like he was good to go, good to go back into the game, but they just kept him off as a precaution. Yeah. So I think he'll be good to go this week.
Michael Carter, he's day-to-day with an ankle injury. Again, that's another one to monitor this week on his practice, whether or not he'll be full participant, limited, or no practice at all. Elijah Mitchell, MCL injury. I'm not really too concerned on it because even if he does not play, you still get CMC there.
Elijah Mitchell looks like he's gone for 6 to 8 weeks. I think he looks like it's what he's done, what he did previously this year. CMC does have a knee irritation. I don't know if he was on your list. I mean, I think he'll be fine. His practices will be day to day and he'll be monitored, but I think he'll be fine. It's just whoever is the backup there. It's the guy, the double barrel name Price or whatever, and then Jordan Mason. So like it's CMC and then one of these guys that will support. But Mitchell, I'd say he's definitely gone for fantasy anyways.
Yeah, most likely out for the season as well. I mean, maybe can have some last hopes in the playoffs to come back. But CMC still, of course, owns that job. We already mentioned Allen Robinson. He's out for the season. Go get yourself some Van Jefferson shares. But Josh Jacobs, this one's an interesting one. He aggravated his calf last Friday at practice, and he almost missed Sunday's game. But then he ended up suiting up, and then he destroyed Seattle and had a total of 303 yards. But then he re-aggravated it. And now they're expecting him to miss most, if not all, of the week this week in practice. So it's going to be interesting to monitor whether or not he will be able to play next week.
He shouldn't have just run 80 whatever yards to win the game. That was his problem. Like, dude, come on. Sort yourself out. You got to look after yourself. Don't be beating my team with stupid runs. But, yeah, great day for fantasy from Josh Jacobs. But, yeah, it's definitely one to monitor because Amir Abdullah could be a late sneaky pickup if Jacobs does be, a game-time decision and then he's out.
Amir Abdullah had over, I think, 10 or 11 fantasy points. But also can't forget Zamir White. He will be fantasy relevant. I am in hopes that he will be.
I'm surprised we didn't see more of him this year, to be honest.
I am too. I think realistically they drafted him expecting Josh Jacobs to not really do that great. And then Josh Jacobs ends up doing phenomenal because it's his, of course, contract year. He's going to get paid money, not from Las Vegas. He's going to go somewhere else, get paid a whole lot of money, and then it's going to be Zamir White's job.
I think the whole plan was to try and make it a committee. And then they realized, Jacobs is probably right now the better running back, and the best chance of them winning is to get it going on the ground with him. And that's what they just leaned on the most. They didn't really, give Zamir White time to bet in.
And they still haven't been able to win that much.
No. I mean, he has these games where he goes off and then, then they lose the next game. So it's, it's an odd one, I suppose.
Of course, that is our news, notes, and injuries for this week. It's time to go to our bust of the week. Of course, our bust of the week, 2 big name players that ended up not working out for your team and maybe costing you a win. Keith, who is your guy?
My guy's Mike Evans. He was targeted a whole lot. I mean, he got 9 targets, but he got 2 receptions for 31 yards. Brady and Evans just could not get on the same page. I mean, Brady was just overthrown, underthrown. Evans was running around kind of like a headless chicken trying to get on the end of them. I mean, the targets are really encouraging, and we know that's what kind of you expect from Tom Brady and Mike Evans. He does get targeted a lot, but I mean, the 5.1 fantasy points wouldn't have helped your team this week, so he's a complete bust.
Yeah, Mike Evans, complete bust. I don't have him in any of my leagues. I refuse to get anyone who's on the Bucks. So, I'll go with my guy. Of course, he's another guy I have no shares of as well, and that's Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel has had 7.3 points last week, but that's not all. He's only had 1 week in the last 4 weeks where he's scored over 10 points. And that one game was against Arizona when he scored 22.4 points. He had 9.4 against Kansas City, 7.1 against the Chargers, and of course 7.3 last week against New Orleans. I'm concerned because I think you spent a lot of capital on Deebo in drafts, and now Brandon Ayuk looks like he's been that guy. He's been the better guy in San Francisco in the passing game.
That's it. The last 2 to 3 weeks, Brandon Ayuk has been the guy. The only thing is now with Elijah Mitchell going down, Deebo will probably go back into his little,
Yeah, but he's going to hate that.
He'll hate it, but he'll probably get points for fantasy. He'll get the jet sweeps. He'll go in the backfield. He'll make them runs and stuff like that. So there may be an uptick now with Elijah Mitchell going down, but yeah, Deebo's definitely been a bust. Especially like you said, the high capital, where you had to pick him up. He's definitely not returned.
No, not at all. And of course, you expect so much capital on him to be able to score like 15, 20 points. And of course, only 9 points this past 3-4 weeks. It's not what you want to see.
No, it's not good enough at all from your wide receiver one. I mean, you're going to need other guys in your team to, to pull the weight and score the points because Deebo has not been doing it.
Of course, Brandon Ayuk, he's right now wide receiver 17. He's averaged double digits since week 6. So it's something to keep in mind there. Of course, he's been getting a bunch of targets, 8, 4, 7, 11, 11, 6. Man's getting a lot of targets, and Jimmy G likes him.
Yeah, solid wide receiver too. I mean, I have having him in a couple of leagues, and I'm happy enough for it and getting off him now. I mean, if the upticks goes to Deebo, it falls down for Ayuk, and that's the way it kind of goes. Jimmy G is good, but like he can't sustain two top wide receivers. We're seeing it now. So, at the moment it's Ayuk's time. Who knows? It could be Deebo's time with what I said about Elijah Mitchell, but right now it's Ayuk is the guy to have.
Deebo Samuel, Mike Evans, our 2 busts of the week. Time to go to our biggest surprises of the week. And Keith, we'll start with Mr. Dill Pickle himself. Who is he?
AJ Dillon, I mean, it's about time. He got his second touchdown of the year. He had a touchdown week 1, and then he goes missing until week 12.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't have a whole lot of attempts. He had 8 attempts for 64 yards and the all important touchdown. But 4 targets, 3 receptions, 24 yards. 17 fantasy points. It's his biggest day yet. He's been so bad for fantasy owners. As a lot of people were highlighting him as his kind of mid-range, pickup this year, and he's been an absolute flop. So a lot of fancy players out there, including me, would have had his 17 points on the bench. Mm-hmm. But this week against the Bears could be encouraging going forward, even if Rodgers plays. They're soft against running backs, the Bears defense. So, I mean, he's got a good shot to maybe replicate it again, but I don't know. I'm still in 2 minds whether I'd play him this week. We've only seen, one good performance in 12 weeks. It's not something to write home about.
Exactly. And of course, AJ Dillon, he had you that big game in week 1 where he had a touchdown and had 20.1 points. And of course, Keith and I were all excited on him. Maybe this was the year we were going to see him spark, and then hasn't scored over double digits since last week, where he just scored a touchdown and gave himself double digits. So it's tough. It's a tough season for AJ Dillon fans.
It is. It's definitely a tough. I mean, he's one you got to hold in Dynasty. I mean, unless you can get something good for him now after the 1 big week since week 1, who knows? But I think you hold and you take your chances. Maybe you'll need him because the team's on bye. James Conner is out. Maybe plug and play Dillon this week. But I don't know. It'd be interesting if he got into some good form, because he is the type of guy that could be a league winner if all of a sudden things changed and this was going to be a consistent fantasy performance from here out.
Yeah, of course. Hopefully, maybe next season we may see more of him, like we saw with Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams a few seasons ago.
I think that's what we're hoping this year, to be honest. I think that's the way it was going to go. Like, even like around the goal lines, give it to him, but they mix it up so much. Aaron Jones caught a touchdown in this game. Do you know what I mean? So it's just the way the Green Bay offense works.
Of course, AJ Dillon, your surprise of the week. My surprise of the week was not obviously just a single player, but he was on the Jets, and the Jets ran into the night with a big win. And of course, my biggest surprise of the week is, of course, Zonovan Knight. Zonovan Knight, I mean, he's only 0.1% owned. So
who is he? Who is he?
Who is he? Exactly. He's a rookie. He is a rookie that was drafted. And of course, if you were that 0.1% owned team and you managed to actually start the guy, I need to see a picture, because if you did, he most likely helped you win this week. Of course, he had 14 attempts, 69 yards, 3 targets, 3 receptions, 34 yards, had 13.3 points, which is pretty good for a first appearance from a rookie running back. He totaled over 100 yards in total. Of course, Carter considered day-to-day. It'll be interesting to monitor this week, especially with Robinson. He was a healthy scratch, which was kind of confusing to me.
It was strange.
It would have definitely helped them this week if they had Robinson. Of course, Ty Johnson also there. Just monitor that this week, because if James Robinson is another healthy scratch, then Zonovan Knight should be that guy.
Zonovan Knight and Ty Johnson, they're going to be the two you could definitely pick up, I think. But yeah, it was very odd that James Robinson was a healthy scratch. I thought he was going to be the guy that goes in there and gets all the work. They got him after Hall went down, but I don't know what's going on. Maybe there's something we don't know. Maybe he's hurt, but they're saying he's healthy, but it seems strange. Maybe he just doesn't know the playbook, but it seems like he's been there a while. But yeah, I mean, Zonovan Knight, like I said, who is he? He was definitely a big surprise this week. And like you said, one to keep an eye on between him and Ty Johnson if Robinson is another, scratch this week.
And of course, if Carter is in as well as James Robinson, you can just White Knight out of the picture, and White will just look at Carter the whole way.
Yeah. I mean, I have a funny feeling Carter won't play, though. If it's a high ankle sprain, it's going to be a tough ask getting to be back this week.
Yeah, and James Robinson could be there still too,
yeah.
unless they gave up on him too.
It's an odd situation. It's definitely one to monitor, though, if you're in bad need of a running back.
Zonovan Knight, AJ Dillon, our two surprises of the week. It's time to go to our streamers of the week. And of course, Keith, I'll start back with you. You like this guy. You like this guy a lot, but he hasn't yet hit your waivers, waiver wire ad, but you like to stream him.
I do like to stream Jared Goff. You got to pick the matchups. But it's against the Jags, so I have a feeling it could be a shootout. I mean, both defenses aren't very good. both offenses, going off the Jags last week. Lawrence has thrown it around. Goff's been throwing it around. Okay, they do a lot of work on the ground. Jamal Williams has been excellent this season. Swift, not so good, but I think he's got this lingering injury that they said he won't be 100% all season. But, he definitely got Amon-Ra St. Brown in there. He had a big week. So I think Jared Goff could definitely put up serious numbers. And I think he's a good streaming option this week. And, he might even take over and beat the Jags this week.
Of course, he was your streamer last week, and whoever streamed him and picked him up and plugged him and played, they paid off for them because they had 17.6 points. Of course, you mentioned Jacksonville. I do like the matchup as well. And I'd be willing to stream him again as well this week, especially if you're in need of a quarterback, if Arizona, or if you have Kyler Murray or somehow have Baker Mayfield or Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
So I do like the stream. My streamer of the week is on your other side of the matchup is in Jacksonville. It's JaMycal Hasty. Wow, that was a tongue twister. Hasty only 0.9% owned. And again, if you started him, I give you all the credit in the world because he's not even 1% owned, 0.9. And he had 12 attempts, 28 yards. He caught all 5 of his targets for 67 yards and scored. He had 20.5 points total last week. Of course, ETN, he sprained his foot. He has got no boot or crutches. They didn't say it's required, but we may see him be more cautious about his foot. Of course, he had the Liz Frank injury last year. But don't forget Darrell Henderson. He got claimed off the waivers by Jacksonville. So Henderson didn't play last week, but if he does play, it'll be interesting to see who they go to, if it's Hasty or Henderson, if ETN can't suit up.
Yeah, I think JaMycal Hasty will definitely be involved. He was with San Fran for a few years, and I always thought he looked okay when he got his opportunities. He just was very limited in them opportunities. But yeah, he stepped up in absence of Etienne, when he went out of the game and showed what he could do. So he's definitely an interesting pickup. Etienne's probably going to come back, but I'd say Hasty probably be involved, around the goal line. I think he's proven enough that he's he's worthy to be out in the field and score. I think in deep leagues, it's a kind of a call where, you can put him in, especially if Etienne's back. If he's not, then you got a chance. I think you can get him in as a flex in, 12-team leagues. But I think he's a decent deep league play.
Yeah, and I mean, I liked Hasty. I thought he looked good as well. I just don't think that NFL teams give him really a good enough chance.
Yeah, that's what it was with the 49ers. I mean, the 49ers always have to running backs. They always get banged up and they always have to go down to some guys never heard of. And that's what happened when he was there. And he went out there and he did his thing and he looked pretty good. I had him in a lot of dynasty leagues, just sitting there and got rid of him. I mean, I'm not rushing out to get him in dynasty, I don't think, right now. You know what I mean? Because he's on waivers. But he's definitely proven he can play in this league. And yeah, he can put up the numbers.
JaMycal Hasty and Jared Goff, our 2 streamers of the week. Of course, it is time now to go to our favorite segments of them all. It's the waiver wire, of course, of the week. First, let's start with waiver wire quarterbacks. Let's set the tone here. Keith, start with you.
So I talked about Jared Goff. Now I'm going to go guy he's going against this week in Trevor Lawrence. I mean, 321 yards and 3 touchdowns last week. He had over 24 fantasy points, led his team to a comeback win. Looks like this guy is taking a step forward. I know we talked about at the start of the year that, Lawrence would need to take a step forward for people to, start trusting him. But looks like this Doug Peterson offense is suiting him. Like I said, has the Lions. I think it's going to be a shootout. I liked both. I could put 2 in. So I had Jared Goff as my streamer. Trevor Lawrence I picked as my waiver wire out of the week. And yeah, I'm happy with that. I think he can definitely return another 20 plus fantasy week.
No, I like that pickup a lot. And you mentioned it in the beginning of the season. We said quarterbacks that really need to step up, and Trevor Lawrence was really that one guy. Of course, Zach Wilson, another guy that needed to step up. And of course, he completely couldn't step it up, especially with the talent that he had. So it'll be interesting to see what will happen following next season for those 2 teams. But do love Trevor Lawrence. I think Jacksonville has a good chance maybe next year for a possible playoff run.
Yeah, they need to get it on defense. I think they've got the pieces on offense are okay. I mean, like Zay Jones, he was the favorite target of Lawrence last week. They've also got Marvin Jones. He's getting old, and they also got they like to hit the tight ends there as well. They just got no real stars. I think Etienne and Lawrence are probably the main stars in that offense. I think they probably need to add some wide receiver pieces. but I definitely think they have a chance. They do need to work on defense, though. I mean, they're definitely a team going somewhere, and it's been a very, very slow rebuild for these guys. Because as far as I know, the Jags have always been down there, and since the Blake Bortles era. But
Yep.
yeah, I think if they kind of look at them areas, they can definitely push on.
Yeah, I love your pick with Trevor Lawrence. Of course, my guy just decided to take over the number 2 overall pick's job, and my guy is Mike White. Of course, we mentioned Mike White a little bit already in the show. He had 315 total yards, especially with the 3 touchdowns. Did run 3 times, excuse me, for 2 yards, so it wasn't really much, but he had 24.8 points. He's only 2.9% owned. He's going against Minnesota this week, and let me tell you, the Jets have the 3rd easiest schedule from week 13 to 17, not by the whole entire team, but just by quarterback. I know we talked about how the team has a tough schedule, but for quarterback, they have the easiest strength of schedule. They're taking on the Vikings this week in a very favorable matchup. The Vikings have allowed 20.64 points on average each and every week to quarterbacks.
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, if Mike White can do what he did last week, he's going to be great for fantasy, and the Jets are probably going to win. Do I see him doing it? I'm not too sure. I think he can definitely play well, but I still think there's probably some interceptions in the future coming, and stuff like that.
You just don't like him. You just don't want to agree with my pick.
No, I don't.
I agree.
I don't mind Mike White at all. I mean, I liked what I seen from him last year. I thought, and at the start of the season, I think he was hurt, but I was thinking there's no reason why this guy can't have a go and get ahead of Zach Wilson. Now he's getting a shot, and I think he's going to have to prove it. But like I said earlier, the Jets, I think, have found their quarterback for the back half of the season. Can he take him to the playoffs? Who knows? But the matchup is favorable. I mean, I've been saying all along that the Vikings are frauds, and frauds because of this defense can't hold teams. They're always in these high-scoring games. They were in another one against your Patriots. They got to outscore teams. That's fine, but it can't go on. You know what I mean? You're not going to win a championship. Yeah. Just happen to outscore. Your D is going to have to step up. So maybe this week I don't think it'll be the week again. I think Mike White will have enough, especially with the New York Jets defense stepping up to hold Cousins. But I just don't. I think he'll be a solid pick, but I just don't think he'll have that kind of same day he did against the Bears.
So you don't think he scores over 20 points?
I'd say he'll get somewhere between 15 and 20. I don't think he goes over.
I think he'll get over 18, 19.
Okay. Yeah, we're kind of in the same boat.
Yeah, I think he'll do good for your team if you need a quarterback.
Oh yeah, I think he's definitely a good pickup. I mean, I keep getting screwed, and I blame you as well. I keep getting screwed.
Hey, I didn't do anything.
Yeah, you did. I got Davis Mills in one league, and now I'm playing Allen because it's like super flex, and I'm getting screwed with 9 points every week, no matter who plays.
Listen, you should have just traded him to me.
Yeah, I should have traded with you, but however. But I think I'm just gonna have to just ride with the one quarterback and then find someone else to put in.
Of course, Mike White and Trevor Lawrence are 2 waiver wire quarterback ads of the week. But before we go into running backs, I do have some quick news, some breaking news. Lamar Jackson is joining the Broncos. So the quarterback help is there. Just kidding. It's a defensive player. The former Bears defensive back cleared the waivers and is siding with the Broncos. Funny thing, though, Lamar Jackson's new team will face Lamar Jackson and the Ravens on Sunday.
Okay, I thought you were going to tell me Lamar Jackson was going to your Patriots or just doing it for effect as well.
Oh, that would have been nice, too. I think the Patriots are still going to get him. I'm still convinced. But Mac Jones did play really good last week, I will admit.
He did. He gave you a chance to win. I was surprised how much – I think we said it on the pod. I was like, yeah, Justin Jefferson's not going to go off and get 30 points, and he almost did. He got 29 points up. So I got that very wrong, and I was very surprised that your defense actually let that happen, because if they had just tightened up, Mac Jones actually played a lot better than we've seen.
Yeah, he had 29.6 points. I didn't think that he was going to get over 20, but I knew he was going to get over 15. I just didn't think he would get that high. Yeah,
I mean, it's whether he can stay consistent.
Well, that's also
I know he got beat, but he actually played pretty well.
Exactly. So going into our waiver wire running backs, and these running backs are really hard. They're starting to get really hard towards the end of the season. Of course, we've mentioned so many running backs already this show. They're all streamer really options. These two are basically our running backs that we really think you guys should add. I'll start with my guy. Let's keep up the White train. Mike White. Let's go with Rashad White. He's right now RB43, averaging 7.2 points a game. Obviously, that's not something special that you like to see, but he is almost 70% owned. So most likely next week, will be I won't be talking about him anymore, which is another unfortunate situation. He's going on to face New Orleans this week, but he had back-to-back weeks with double digits. 14 attempts, 64 yards. He caught all 9 of his targets for 45 yards, 19.9 points. Fournette most likely will be back this week, which is really unfortunate. He's going to take snap percentages away from Rachaad White, but I'm not too concerned because I really think White is starting to leave a mark on that depth chart, and I think White will really be more involved than Fournette will be.
White's the future. I really like what I see with White, and like you said, yeah, Fournette's going to come back in there and he's going to take snap, the carries away from him. But I'd still be hoping that Rachaad White gets, the lion's share of it.
Mhm.
And maybe they put Fournette on the snap count or something like that, just because he's going back. But White's the better running back, and if the coaches can actually see that he's the better running back, then he should get the more of the share. I like the pick. I like White. I like him. I really like him in Dynasty. I think anybody that has him, you have a really good running back there going forward. So yeah, I like this pick.
I didn't get him in any Dynasty league.
I got him in one. I got him in actually one that me and you were in. I got him late. Nobody wanted him. So
Was it a third round or fourth?
he was third.
Oh, okay. I like those running backs in the third round. I think I try to stay away from running backs where Tom Brady's in because you just can't trust it.
Yeah, I think I liked it last year because the way the first round was going, I wasn't big on it. So it was like, I'll just pick up the pieces second and third type of thing. And some of them have fallen.
Yeah, which it has been nice for you.
Yeah, it has.
Hasn't been nice for me. I've had many injuries. Rachaad White, of course, my waiver running back. Who is your guy? I think we've mentioned him recently.
We have, and like you said previously, there it was tough. I think on the waiver wires, not a whole lot, out there that's worth plugging in. That's kind of under 70%. But I was surprised that Isaiah Pacheco was only 58.8% rostered. I mean, he's seen his attempts go up in the last 3 weeks. He's gone 16, 15 this week, 22, 69 yards, and he got in the end zone for a touchdown, over 15 fantasy points. Solid number. He is, over the last 3 games, he's the official lead back there now. Clyde's gone. I know they just got Melvin Gordon. I don't know if you've seen that. He's gone to the practice squad. So he's another one that's just, I suppose, a depth piece. I think Pacheco's still going to be the number one. And we've all seen it. We talked about it when he got cut, I think, last week. Gordon's got fumble issues. He's just going to drop the ball, all the time and stuff like that. So I wouldn't be too concerned. I think Jarrett McKinnon's going to probably take a lot of the passing work off him. But this week they play the Bengals. I think it's going to be another, a good shootout. I think another good game, and I think it'd be highly involved.
Of course, 15 or more attempts the last 3 weeks. Of course, 69 or more rushing yards for Pacheco. But he did score last week, like you mentioned. And Pacheco having his consistency has consistently went up the last 4 weeks. I mean, week 9 he only had 1.9 points. Then he had 6.2, 10.7, 15.7. 15.6. Going on to face Cincinnati this week. It's going to be a good matchup. And are we expecting more than 15.6 this week? I think we can see it.
I think I can see it. I think he'll be around the mark. I mean, if he gets another, I think he'll need another touchdown to go above and beyond.
Yeah.
I mean, I think around, what do you have, 69 yards? I mean, it's not too bad, but I think to go above, like that Cincinnati defense isn't like, they kept Derrick Henry okay. You know what I mean? I think he did all right for fantasy, but like he had some big runs. Pacheco could do that. But I think he'll have around the same, about 15, 16. But if he gets another touchdown, he'll go on to the 20. So I think he'll be, another good pickup, and I think he'll have another decent week.
Yeah, I completely agree. I like Pacheco a lot. I know a lot of people thought he was going to break out way earlier this season, but finally the Clyde injury has helped him progress, and now he's the lead back, and now should be picked up in all of Waiver Wire.
Yeah, I think I said it before, but it's going to be interesting what happens with Clyde, when he comes back and next season, because, he's been drifting down boards all the time, and, there's not too much further I think he can go.
Yeah, Rachaad White, Isaiah Pacheco are 2 waiver wire running backs. Of course, let's go into our wide receivers. And, of course, I'll have Keith say what he wants to say for his next guy. And, Keith, who's your guy?
Zay Jones, I mean, the favorite target of Trevor Lawrence past week, 14 targets. I mean, that's crazy, man. Ooh. I mean, some wide receivers wouldn't even get 14 targets in 3 weeks, but he had them in one game, 11 receptions, 145 yards. All he was missing was a touchdown, but he still gave you over 27 fantasy points. Like I said, favorite target of Lawrence. He's probably going to continue that this week. Like I said, I really like this matchup for fantasy. I like the guys like Zay Jones. I even like Marvin Jones. Like Trevor Lawrence. I think these guys are going to do it. Same on the other side of the ball. Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think Swift. Jamal. I think this game is just going to be great for fantasy, just because the defense on both sides is not great.
Yeah.
But Zay Jones has shown up against these high-powered offense that he can score big. Chargers week 3, 24.5. KC week 10, 14.8. Now the Ravens week 12, 27.5. So he could have another, a big week, because I think this game is going to be a shootout back and forward. The Lions are going to stay in this game. So are the Jags. So I'm thinking he'll have another 20, 25 point game.
And I just want to, before I agree with Zay Jones, I do have some quick breaking news. We mentioned Aaron Rodgers earlier. He has told the Pat McAfee show that he plans on playing this week against the Bears.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I mean, if it was someone else, maybe, but it's the Bears, and like we said, he loves playing against the Bears.
Of course. But no, back to Zay Jones. I love the pickup here. Zay Jones, he's had 24 targets in the last 2 weeks. 24 targets. That's insane to see. Over 200 yards in those last 2 weeks. He had 27.5, you mentioned last week, 14.8 before the bye week against Kansas City. Going on to face Detroit, it's a good favorable matchup for Zay Jones and Trevor Lawrence. I like the pickup a lot. He's had double-digit targets, I think, 4 weeks already this season. And of course, He's only 31.4% owned. Wide receiver 33. He needs to be owned because he's a good flex play, if not wide receiver 3.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything you say. I think if he's out there on waivers, I think he's one of my top ones to go pick up, because I think he can score big this week.
And of course, our big name guy from ESPN that we've had on the show, Eric Moody, he also likes Zay Jones. So of course, if ESPN guys like him, then
you got to go with it. I mean,
you gotta go with it.
Yeah. Don't believe us, believe them then.
Yeah, of course, exactly. So Zay Jones, I love the pickup. I'll go with my guy, which is Treylon Burks. Of course, Treylon Burks, he had 15 plus points last 2 weeks. Combined, he had 14 targets, 11 receptions, 181 yards, and a score. That's, of course, within those 2 weeks. But last week, he did score 17 points. Maybe got a little saved there with points when he fumble recovered Derrick Henry's fumble.
Yeah, in the end zone.
Which that was definitely an interesting. A lot of people were talking about, wow, how are they going to mark that in fantasy? But of course, Treylon Burks gets the good news on the touchdown. But I like Treylon Burks, and I like him moving forward. And Dynasty, he's a really good sneaky player if you haven't got him.
Yeah, I got a lot of shares of Treylon Burks in Dynasty, and I think it's been a slow burner for a lot of people. He hasn't started in any of my lineups, but last couple of weeks, I think the Titans have definitely got it going. They definitely know how to use him. He's showing what he is. He's a big guy, big catch radius. You throw it up, he'll go up and get it. So I really like the pick as well. I really like Treylon Burks. I think he can have another good week, and I think he's going to be very important to the Titans going forward to try and get into the playoffs.
Yeah, especially since the Titans have a 3-game lead in their division. I mean, a couple more, if they get 2 more wins, I think they clinch with losses. So it's going to be interesting to see, because Treylon Burks is going to have to step it up. Robert Woods also, I really just want him to really do good. And I think his age has really hit him.
It's that, and the way that he was using the Rams, McVay loved them. I'd say McVay would love to have him back now. They always had these little jet sweeps, little trick plays, and coming out of the backfield, kind of like a Debo, but just, not as good maybe. But he kind of manufactured all these plays for Robert Woods, which, the Titans are not going to do. They're very much, one-dimensional. It's Derrick Henry down the middle, and then the odd, throw over the top. So this is why it works with Treylon Burks, because, when you want the big boom play, he's been there and he's proven it, the last couple of weeks.
Interesting to see between our 2 waiver wire wide receivers, of course, Treylon Burks and Zay Jones. Time to go to our waiver wire tight ends. And of course, I'll start back with you again. Who's your guy to end off this show?
So again, another kind of, tight ends, like
it's tough.
Running
it's
backs.
Tough.
It's getting tough in there, especially, it's tough if you need to pick some up. Like you thought you were sure last week with Tyler Higbee going to get a bunch of targets, and he puts up a donut, in an offense that has no real receivers outside of Van Jefferson. But it's Foster Moreau. He's 35.5% owned. He's got one more week of, I think, being fantasy relevant until Waller comes back. If that's, if he's going to come back. He had 7 targets, 3 receptions, 33 yards. That line's not great, but then again, he got that touchdown, so he got you over 12 fantasy points, which is very solid for a tight end. Averaging 7 points on the year so far, which is not too bad, especially that Darren Waller has been there as well. But yeah, I mean, I think he's a good pickup this week against the Chargers. I'd imagine, Derek Carr is going to have to stay in this game. It's going to be like the Seattle game. They're going to need to stay up with the Chargers. Again, the Chargers not being too great themselves, very up and down. Even with the likes of Keenan Allen coming back, they have another team with a lot of injuries. But I think Foster Moreau is going to be fantasy relevant for one more week, anyways.
Of course, the last time the Raiders faced the Chargers back in week 1 and Darren Waller was fully healthy and Moreau had no targets, no receptions, no nothing. He had a just big fat donut. But this week, of course, with Darren Waller not there, the Chargers can give up a good amount to tight ends. And I do like the pickup because it's hard. This tight end world's hard. And Moreau could very well be another double-digit scorer this week. Of course, he had 13.3 in week 10, had a little dud week in week 11, but then 12.3 again last week. I think he may be able to hit double digits again this week.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen the Raiders have shown us their hand. They can't keep the ball out of the end zone, so they're going to be in these high-scoring games. That's what it looks like to me. So he's going to be very relevant, especially around the red zone. Derek Carr is going to look to, to throw it in there and hopefully he gets more touchdowns.
Yeah, no, I like the pickup, especially with Devontae Adams. You're gonna need more help, and Foster Moreau is gonna be there to help.
Yep.
My next guy, and I'm sure Keith loves him too because Keith loves to talk about him. It's Mr. Hayden Hurst. This man, he's bursting with speed. Tight end 8 right now, averaging 8.8 points, 59.2% owned. He's going against Kansas City, but he had 9 targets, 6 receptions, 57 yards, 11.7 points. 7 out of 11 games, he scored over 8 plus points, which, in my opinion, I think that's not bad. I think you want to see at least 8-9 points for tight ends. And of course, someone like Robert Tonyan, really, he had that 1 year where he was super good. Everyone liked him. And then now he doesn't really score much. He's been scoring 5-6 points, but Hayden Hurst, tight end 8. And of course, what better way to go get yourself tight end 8 off the waivers, who's only 59.2% owned, because tight ends are hard. Don't trade for a tight end unless it's Travis Kelce.
Yeah, I mean, I've been on about Hayden Hurst all year. Like you said, he has been just super consistent. And it doesn't bother me that Jamar is probably going to be back this week because he was super consistent and relevant with Jamar in that offense. I mean, same with Joe Mixon. If he comes back, Hayden Hurst does not bother me. So, yeah, I think he's a great pickup this week. He's tight end 8. I mean, I think he deserves to be for the consistency. I mean, I don't think he's going to blow up and get you 20 points like that is, but he is solid 10, 12, 13 points most weeks.
And I do want to ask you, because I'm sure you haven't seen this yet. I want to ask you who's the tight end 1 right now? Who do you think is tight end 1?
Oh, it has to be Travis Kelce, right?
Yeah, it is. It is. Who do you think is the tight end 2? Who has to be right
behind? Say there's a drop off, but I'd say it's Mark Andrews.
Correct. Now, in between those two, how much of a point difference is it, do you think?
Oh, I'd say it's a lot because Andrews, he missed the week and stuff like that. I mean, I'd say Kelsey's probably 200, 220. Mark Andrews is probably 125 or something like that. I'd say there's a big drop.
Wow, that was really good. That was really close. Travis Kelce has 238.7 total points right now in fantasy. Mark Andrews has 144.8.
Okay, not too far away.
Well, that's about 100-point difference from tight end 1 to tight end 2.
Yeah,
isn't that crazy?
It's crazy, and it's where's George Kittle on that list if you have it? I mean, George Kittle has gone way down. I don't know if you have it, but I'm just kind of interested in where these guys were going. You know what I mean? Early on, I mean, TJ Hawkinson must be up there because he's still doing really well with Vikes.
I know George Kittle right now is a tight end 7 so far.
Okay. I mean, he's just one ahead of Hayden Hurst, and we're talking about Hayden Hurst.
Oh yeah, I mean? It's insane. It's insane to think. So TJ Hawkinson is 8 points behind Mark Andrews, 136.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert are still tight end 4 and 5, even though they're on IR.
Okay.
They should leave. They should start dropping. They have about 115, 113. Then you got George Kittle with the 103 at tight end 7.
I mean, it's been a slow enough season for him, even with Jimmy G coming back in, because I thought that would help him, get back up there to maybe top 5.
And tight end. Oh yeah, he can easily. I mean, one big game, he could go right back up. From tight end 8 all the way to tight end 15. there's a 7-point difference.
It's crazy. Tight ends is so like you said about trading for Kelsey. I mean, if you're not getting Kelsey,
It's not worth it.
No, it's not worth it. You're better off just waiting and see what value lands to you.
And of course, before we go, we have to mention our one big breaking news, the biggest news of them all. Who do you think? Who do you think? Yeah, we talked about it. Deshaun Watson. He's officially back. The man, the myth, the legend is back. And Deshaun Watson, I mean, you have to go pick him up.
You definitely do this week. And what were you saying? I think only 50% owned, something along them lines. I'm surprised he's not way over 70 at this stage. He's playing the Texans. He's against his old team. Rivalry there. He's going to want to beat them bad. I mean, I think he might be rusty. And I mean, I know new offense and stuff like that, but I still think he goes and gets 20 points this week.
43.2% owned. That's it.
I
might be funny and just upset Cleveland and just say Houston wins. It's been the trend. Russell Wilson has lost to his former team.
True.
Who else has it been? What was it? Matt Ryan that lost to his former team, or was it Carson Wentz? Someone, but everyone's been losing to their former teams.
I mean, you're going to need a big week from Kyle Allen. I just don't see it. Or Damian Pierce just give it on the ground because he's kind of gone missing the last few weeks. But I still think even if Deshaun Watson plays bad, they just hand the ball off and they'll be good enough to beat the Texans.
No, I completely agree. I mean, Deshaun Watson, of course, facing the Texans. It'll be interesting to see what we will see out of Watson, whether or not we will see what he was like a few years ago, or if he has dropped off in the QB average, like if he's just an average quarterback now.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I wouldn't read too much into the first game, but definitely after like 2 or 3 games, we'll definitely know a lot more.
Of course, Paul, 11-1, doing pretty good. I think you're doing fantastic, in my opinion.
Yeah, you're there. You better win the championship now.
Yeah, you got to win it. Record doesn't mean anything as long as you make playoffs and win it all.
Anything can happen in the playoffs, but you got to go win now. Get them pieces early off the waivers that might help you win your league.
And you can go 7-6, 7-7, make it six seed, and then still make it and win it.
I've got one league that in the last 2 years, the last person into the playoffs has gone and won it. So wow. These things happen.
Maybe that'll be me this year in one of our leagues.
Right now, I'm hoping not, because I'm doing well in all them leagues. So I'm hoping.
Yeah, you are. I don't know. Maybe an upset will come. I don't know, but of course that's going to do it here for today's episode number 29. We're almost on 30 episodes already. The season's almost coming to an end. We're going to have playoffs pretty soon. But of course, once again, if you haven't done so already, use code SportsTimeHQ on Underdog Fantasy, and they'll match your first deposit up to $100. So if you can gamble, you might as well gamble $100 because you can get a free $100 back. So once again, make sure you use code SportsTimeHQ on Underdog Fantasy. That's going to do it here for today's show. I was joined by my great co-host, Keith. Got to go follow him all over social media at SwampDonkey_90. And of course, follow him and his fiance on Instagram at HuddleUp_NFL. Of course, that's going to do it for me. I'm Fernando. I'm your host of Sports Time HQ. We will see you all next Tuesday at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time, as always, every week.